Let's get back to the federal government's move to ban under-16s from social media. It was endorsed, as you know, last week by National Cabinet, and a bill's going to be put to federal parliament in the next fortnight. The Education Minister, Clare, has written to school principals asking for their help in enforcing this ban. But there's still plenty of detail to work through, including how a person's age will be verified. But that hasn't stopped the PM from jumping onto social media promoting the ban. Have a look.
I want to talk to Australian parents. We're making 16 years old the minimum age for social media. Too often, social media isn't social at all, and we all know that. The truth is, it's doing harm to our children, and I'm calling time on it.
Now let's bring in child and adolescent psychologist Clare Rowe. Thanks for joining us, Clare. I'm having more and more doubts about this as we go on. As you know, I'm all for keeping kids off social media. I think it's toxic for them, and I don't know whether new government laws are going to be the solution. How are you thinking it's panning out?
Yeah, well, as you know, Chris, you would not find a bigger supporter than myself for getting kids not just off social media, but off screens. Right? Yep. I'm writing an article at the moment that says kids do not need phones. Like, just get rid of the whole thing. But I will admit there is a lot of detail to work through with this, and I'm not sure if the government's thought it through or not. I've always been a fan of parents having the say on this, but I do concede that that has been an uphill battle and a battle that parents are losing over the last few years, and we do need to act. But look, I don't even know what they're going to define as social media. Like, does it include YouTube, messaging platforms, Discord, gaming platforms? Is it just the Instagram and Snapchats? Like, all that needs to be worked out. Then, of course, they need to draft legislation and get it through. As far as I know, we haven't heard a response to this proposal by tech companies. But, you know, I can't imagine they're just going to roll over without any court challenges or anything to this, because they are making billions and billions of dollars. So I don't think this is going to be as easy as the government thinks it will be. And then, of course, after that, we have to talk about enforcement, developing the tech, and how it's actually going to be monitored. So there's a lot of grey areas here.
Well, and there is the concern that's being put about that in order to prove your age, or children or below 16-year-olds perhaps, certainly over 16, will have to have some form of digital identification. And that quite rightly worries people. We're only just 5 minutes away from having vaccine passports. Now you have to have social media passports.
Well, that's the fear. And I think in the climate at the moment, the misinformation bill and so forth, people are going to be very wary about this. And is this a way to get in digital identities? But I think one thing's for sure, the legislation will have to put the responsibility back on tech companies. So they will have to come up with the system, the tech, to be able to verify ages. You know, I cannot see a situation where parents are going to be held responsible and we're going to be bringing up, you know, parents to courtrooms because their 15-year-old has access to Instagram. That's not going to happen. So it will need to go back to the tech companies. But as I've always said, if we can work all of that out, and that is a long road, then it will empower parents to be able to just say no, which is what I've been trying to help them do for the last decade. And seemingly that hasn't, you know, been successful. But it will enable them to be able to say to their children, it's against the law, you can't have it. There is half the class at least who don't have it, and, you know, and that will be a growing number of support there for them.
Yeah, that's the argument that's always held more sway with me, the fact that it strengthens parents' arms. But in the end, it's about parental discipline. It's about trying to force this change, and it's not easy. You know, I've got older boys where it doesn't matter. I've got young boys who are facing it now. I know how difficult it is, but in the end, we've got to be able to say no and keep them off their devices, as you say. Thanks for joining us again, Clare. I appreciate it. Clare Rowe there, child and adolescent psychologist, always a font of wisdom on this stuff.